My name is Yewande, and welcome to episode 3 of Knitting the Blues. I'm a knitter and a writer based in Johannesburg. Thank you so much for joining me here. Thank you for subscribing to this channel if you've subscribed, and for coming back. If you're new, thanks for being interested. I really hope that the time you spend here is enjoyable. For today's episode, I just wanted to talk about what I've recently cast off, my needles, what's currently on my needles, and what plans do I have to put onto my needles, when I've completed the projects that I'm busy with. Of course, before we jump into that, as with every episode, I want to talk about what I'm wearing. It's the Tolsta tee by Clow. It's a very interesting pattern. Clow is known for making these patterns that you buy one pattern, but there are just many variations to it. So for instance, this pattern, it's a very popular one, but just in case you're not aware of it, this is knit in fingering weight yarn, but she also has instructions for double knit. I put these stripes in, and that was lots of fun, but you could also just knit it plain without striping it. She has instructions for if you want to put eyelets into it, like some lace patterns. I think she has some instructions for color work, like you could do polka dots. So I think she's really, and there are some designers that specialize in that, but has a corner of the market where you can always count on her patterns to easy to personalize, I suppose, but she also gives instructions to guide that personalization. It's fun. It's lots of fun. I want to say a little bit about knitting it. It's the first t-shirt I've knit. Let me think. I've knit vests, they call them, and I'd knit straps is what I'm looking for. But this is the first t-shirt. It's a raglan construction. And all that means is that the way you construct the sleeves is with this gradually increasing the stitches so that you widen for the sleeves. And then you put those sleeve stitches on hold and join in the round, and you do the body. Then you come back and you pick up and you finish the sleeves. And then you pick up and you do the neck cuff. And there's some ribbing, at the bottom. And so I encountered something that I struggle with all the time with raglan. And it's probably because I've got a long body in general, but I've got a long torso. So I always find for the size that I want, the raglan instructions always have me joining for the body way too high. What I'm trying to say is the instructions for your size tell you how to increase. And of course, for different sizes, you increase at different rates. When I pick my size and I increase as per the instructions, usually when they say, okay, we're done with increases, time now to join for body, when I check, I find that it's way too snug. It's not low down enough. So I wonder if you can see, this is where the pattern was saying stop increasing. And it was fine for the increase, but it wasn't fine for the length. Now, by the way, that might also happen because my gauge was off, and I can't remember now. I think my gauge was okay. I think I did various mathematics to accommodate for gauge so that it shouldn't have been so way off. Because in the end, I had to do quite a number of rows. I had to do at least 2 more inches of knitting after the increase before I felt comfortable joining for the body. And so what it means is it's not as tidy. And if I'd known ahead of time, or if I had to knit this again, I would change my increases so that they would end a bit lower down. No matter, I love this all the same. I've had that problem for almost every raglan I've knit, and it's okay. I don't think it matters in the end so much. But it does make me nervous about raglans, and I will one day crack the raglan. I think I have to learn a bit about my own dimensions and maybe buy one of those books that pattern makers, start to buy and learn, which is like understanding construction and understanding the math of construction and the math of increases. And then I almost need to have my own kind of ready way of increasing raglan based on my size. It's almost the way many people have their own vanilla sock. They've made so many socks, they know exactly how many how many stitches they need to cast on for it to fit their ankles, and how long their feet are, and so how many rows they need to do. And I think almost I need to do that for the raglan. I knit it in fingering yarn, which I mean, it took forever, but it was, I don't know, there's something really wonderful about knitting, with this really thin yarn. I wanted to show I don't have any of the yarn left. That's how much of Yarn Chicken I played, and I think I won. But this is my swatch. I never do 10 centimeters of a swatch. I think I've done 10 centimeters once. We can debate as to whether that's foolish of me or not. I guess by the time you're doing the swatch, you may as well do the full 10 centimeters, but nah, I never do a full 10. I just do the math. I do a portion and then I do the math. But this is the yarn. It's 100% cotton yarn. It's by a company called The Yarny Corner. I get a sense they're a new company, local. I think it's 4 that I bought, and I was able to make this t-shirt with it. I decided to stripe. Halfway through, I thought, let me put a stripe in. And I learned the jogless stripe, and I striped it with this lovely yarn from Cowgirl Blues. It's a blend. It's linen and merino, and there might be some viscose here. It's very nice. I think it's called Celine Dion, hand-dyed, of course. And it's this lovely green. I've got a bunch of it left because I ordered it, and then I realized, I wouldn't really want to knit a whole garment in this. So I've put it in all sorts of different projects, and it pops up in different projects. I made a gift Anthea top for my father's first love. We recently got in touch, and we've been corresponding. She lives in the UK, and she knitted me something, and then I knitted her something. She happens to be a knitter. Anyway, that's a little bit of a side note. What else am I wearing? You would have seen this. This is my beloved. This is the Guernsey wrap that I made some time back. It's this absolutely beautiful texture. I said I love ribbing. I love texture as well. Ribbing and ribbing is a kind of texture, right? So I don't know. I just love that. I think there's something exquisite about this. Now, this was interesting. It's knit in 100% Egyptian cotton. I bought it when I traveled for work. I was in Greece, and I spent some time visiting a friend in Athens. Hi, Canelli, in case you're watching. And she said, what do you want to do? I didn't have a lot of time. I had like a few hours in Athens. So, we did the normal thing, went for a beautiful walk, and I didn't really have time to do hectic sightseeing. So I said, well, the odd yarn shop would be nice. Heresy, yarn shop when I should be going to the ruins. Anyway, she very kindly drove us into the city center, and we walked around and saw the city center, and then popped into different yarn stores, from yarn store to yarn store. Of course, again, me and my, I have this thing where I'm like, I don't want to spend too much money, and then I end up, I didn't actually go crazy. I bought this. It was fairly affordable. Can't remember the price now. I think I bought 3 or so balls of it, and I didn't even know what I was going to make at the time. But remember, I'm the blue woman. So I saw this. I mean, look at that. Look at that color. It's just, isn't that? So I saw this, and I just said, I've got to get that. And I bought that, and I thought, I'll make a top. I'm glad I did this in the end, because I thought I'll make this, I'll make that. It's fairly heavy because, of course, it's cotton. And then I thought, let me make the Guernsey wrap. Of course, the Guernsey wrap, I think, is recommended for proper, like, wool, not cotton. So I don't know. It was early days in my knitting. And it was my first time following a chart, I think, first or second time. And it's, knit and purl, and knit 3 and purl 2 and knit 12. It was a little tedious. And I was making this for quite a long time. Anyway, I love it. It's not, because it's cotton, it's not the most super warm thing for like dead of winter. But, once it warms up a little bit, but still has some coolness, this is really nice. The only challenge with this is it's such a strong color that I feel sometimes it's like even too strong for my wardrobe. Although I have plenty blue in this wardrobe. I wear it a lot with white. If I have like a white top and a white skirt or bottom, or I have a white dress, that is really nice. This wants to be the star of the show. It doesn't want to share the limelight. And I'm usually very happy to afford it the stage. That's what I'm wearing, by the way, and what I've just cast off as well. This is a much older knit. This I finished this towards the end of last year. I'll put a bit of footage of me knitting it. I traveled once again, and I knit it on the plane. I knit it in the taxi cab, and so on. So I have some fun pictures of that, and I think I have some video of that. This, I think I cast off this a week ago, or 2 weeks ago maybe. I'm fairly monogamous in my knitting. I just get a bit anxious and nervous if I have too many things on the needles. I don't want to be able to be like, oh my God, I have like 10 things on my needles, and I don't want that vibe. And I feel I can not get that vibe if I'm really just knitting one thing. And I seldom miss anything if I'm at least working on one project. The times when I've worked on two, and in fact, this is one such time, so I'll talk about that shortly. But there's been the odd time where something I'm doing is very difficult. It's like challenging. It requires quite a bit of attention, which is not a bad thing, but it requires quite a bit of focused attention. So a lot of my knitting, I do alongside my kids when they're playing, or I do in the car, or I do it at night, maybe before I sleep. And so I do need it to be quite repetitive and not too taxing. I like the odd taxing project, of course. But so I find if I've taken a project that's a bit complicated, then I might then take something that's very like stockinette, so that depending on the situation, I have a choice. I can do the two lovers. I can't do more than that. But other than that, I'm usually monogamous. Okay, let's talk about what was on my needles before. And let me have my notes. Still got the notebook. It's doing its job. I must confess, I write other things in it too, because I love a notebook, actually. I love a good notebook. I just put the notes here for the patterns. There we go. So, just put that there. So, I'm going to show you the yarn first, and I'll show you, I've got one still cake. Sorry if the crinkle upsets you. Get a load of that. This is really the first red thing I've ever made. I mean, like this. I made a tiny dress for a doll that I made for a little deer person, and that was a red dress. But this is not for a doll. It's for me. And this yarn is quite glorious. It's earth yarns. I bought it from the Yarn Room, which is up in kind of Midrand, Pretoria. A lovely shop and really nice owners. This yarn, it says it's made in Turkey. It's dyed by hand using natural dyes. And I loved to hear that. And this is interesting for me. Have a look. Can you see that plant? Because I think it's saying that is the plant that it's dyed from. Because when I went online, I've been trying to find out what was the natural yarn, the natural dye that they used for this. Because, I mean, look at that color. So vibrant and like that. Because normally you think, oh, natural dyes, they're quite muted. I mean, this is like, there's no question about this one. And it has this flower, which to me looks like that. I'm putting a picture up there now, which is a flower I grew up around in Nigeria. And I wondered if it grew in Turkey, and I wonder if it could dye. I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows how to find out what earthy. I then thought maybe they use a number of things. So it's not so easy to just say it's this plant or that plant. Maybe they use many red plants to really get it to be so vibrant. But whatever they do, it's extraordinary. And it's 100% merino, I believe. And it's superwash. It's DK weight, and the color is rubia. So I'd been looking for just the right red for me, and I saw that, and I thought that's what it's going to be. And then I dilly-dallied for a while trying to find out what to make from it, and eventually I decided I wanted to make a cardigan, because it's DK. I thought it could be a cardigan for when spring comes around. I'll wear it autumn. And so I found this pattern called the Order of Garter, which I love the name as well. And the pattern is by Annamaria Otvos. She also goes by 11 Wild Swans. Let me show you where I'm going to put lots of pictures and little videos, because I've taken stuff and it's not so easy to show. It's much easier to show it. Let me not spoil things by trying to show you like this and waste time. I'm going to put pictures. But it's the Order of Garter. So it's just this world of garter. It's knit, let me try and remember. You start at the back, you knit the back and you knit this square, then you come round and you increase for the two fronts, left and right, and then they also show you how to start making the buttonholes. I thought these are really pleasant buttonholes to make. And I thought I must remember this, because I was wondering, is it just for garter? or could it work for anything, for even for stockinette? It's a very lovely kind of buttonhole instruction, really, really nice. And I love that they're not massive. This is fun. Again, I'm not doing helical knitting, just to say I have mid-project blocked this. I knew, for instance, that Garter opens up quite a bit, and I was right. So, and I don't want it very long. Well, also I don't have enough yarn. I don't have a lot of yarn left. So again, I'm doing the yarn chicken game. You never learn. Anyway, what's interesting about this? I mean, you may notice my sleeves are not Garter. Listen, anyone who's knit Garter sleeves, God be with you, because what? Now, you see from the pictures, I started doing the Garter sleeves, and I did it for a while, but I made an error. I made an error where, like, I made an error. You can see from the picture. I'm not going to try and explain it because I think I'll make a fool of myself. But okay, let me try. It's very clear about where you begin of round, and I kept moving the beginning of round, and I didn't realize I was moving the beginning of round. I don't know how, but I didn't, and it meant that you could see the line going like this. It was very untidy. And then I tried to fix it, and that took a long time, and it made it worse. But all the while I'd been saying, oh my goodness, this thing of knitting the sleeve in Garter is excruciating. This is pure torture. And I thought, oh, I have another sleeve to do like this. And I kept thinking, it's fine, it'll be fine. And then when I saw that error and I saw I can fix it, I just ripped it all back. Here's a little video of me ripping it all back, just for the drama. And I said I was going to make stockinette sleeves. Sorry, Annamaria. I mean, it's a gorgeous pattern, and I hope I haven't ruined it, but I just thought, I can't do this. I can't do this. So I just did stockinette sleeves. And I said, you know what? Then the Garter is, and I like that. It looks like armor, and it's just order of garters. I feel like a warrior, with the I'm thinking of the chain mail, you know what I mean? And then the sleeves are just stockinette. And then what I tried to do, which was fun, is I tried to make something of the edge. So that's just me making that up, where I knit 2 rows, and then I did 1 little Garter, and then whoop, stockinette. And then I've also tried to do this little interesting thing. I don't know. I'm just playing around. I think this is quite sweet. Look at that. I decreased quite severely. So this is snug. It's not too tight, but it's snug. I worried that it was too snug. I can still rip it back and fix it if I think it is, but I wanted it to be quite dramatic, and I feel like it is. I haven't woven. And then I ended off, and then I opened up again, just so that I had something to tug onto when I'm putting it on. And then I did an I-cord bind off, like a fairly thin I-cord bind off. And then I project blocked to check the length of the sleeve. I project blocked to check where this was hitting. So I should go a bit more, and I'm trying to work out what to do. It's funny when you go rogue like this, because now you're like, okay, so I'll do the other sleeve so that that's done. And then I have to work out, I was just thinking today, I think what I'm going to do, because I don't have, in her pattern, her finishing is I-cord all around the bottom and all the way up and around the neck. I have a feeling I don't have enough yarn. This was all but 1 skein. So there's my 1 skein for the second sleeve. And then I do not have a lot left, ladies and gentlemen. So I'll have 1 skein, and this is what was left from that sleeve. So I'll have about this much left, and this. And with that, I need to finish the collar. Like, I don't see me having enough. So I need to be clever. And I need to be clever. What might I do? I might do a rapid decrease at the bottom. Maybe that's kind of funky. And then, but then pay attention then I was saying for the neck, I thought I might actually bring stockinette back in and do but bunched up, like decrease a bit for the neck so that it cinches in a bit, and do stockinette. And then where I need to put structure is in the button band. So this is going to be interesting. You get to watch me, fly to great heights and either burn my ass on the sun or arrive on the moon. Let's see. What else is on my needles? Right. Now, okay, so here's an example of where I sometimes then put something else on the needles. I always knew I wanted to make this next thing, but I was waiting to finish this. When I realized I had to do a mid-project block and wait for it to dry, then I thought, okay, I'm going to cast something else on. And I casted the very next thing that I'd been planning on casting on, which is the Pearl Sweater by Lene. And her name, the company is Lene, and she goes by Lene Holme Samsoe. It's such a beautiful pattern. It is seed stitch. I have a very soft spot for seed stitch. I discovered seed stitch when I was trying to fall pregnant, and I was struggling to fall pregnant, and one day I was knitting something. I think I was making a cowl for a friend of mine, actually. I wonder if you still have that cowl, Noloyiso. I was making this cowl for her. It had seed stitch in it. And I thought, what is this stitch? It's so beautiful. Look at the texture again, texture junkie that I am. And when I looked it up, it said seed stitch, and my heart kind of beat twice as fast. And it felt meaningful. Of course, we find meaning everywhere, aren't we? We're meaning-making machines, a friend of mine says. So anyway, this being a lover of seed stitch, I saw this pattern and I just thought, oh, how wonderful. I like that it's oversized. It's also been very cold, and I thought, oh, I just love a little snug thing. So it had been on my mind for a while. The yarn and the pattern, I hadn't thought the two and put them together immediately. I bought the yarn first. I wanted a nice, yummy yarn, not too expensive. So my trusty African Expressions. So when Arthur Bales had that fantastic sale that they have this every year or twice a year, they have this 40% sale. In fact, I'm waiting for it now because that's when you buy yarn, when the sale is on, to avoid overspending. But when they had that sale, I saw this gray and I liked it. I just liked it for being, and I thought what I thought, if you're going to do something like full of cables and very exquisite, then the color in particular can be muted. And also I've learned that the lighter the yarn, it sometimes shows off the pattern and the texture a bit better. So I grabbed several balls of that. I can't remember, 10 or so, just for a big project. I knew I would want for lots of big projects. So I grabbed that. And I had that in my stash for a long time waiting. I said, I'm going to do cables. I looked at this pattern and the other pattern and the other pattern. And then I knew I wanted to hold it with something. Now, I don't do well with mohair. I find mohair itchy, or at least the mohair that I've tried. So the African Expressions mohair, it's beautiful, but it scratches me a bit too much. The Rowan kid silk ain't bad. I'll tell you that. It's more expensive, but it's not bad. I wasn't necessarily ready to buy all of that mohair for this, so I didn't buy it. And then the other mohair I've tried, is Skakenmeier. I knit the Kutova Kika's Darling cardigan, and I paired it with a dark African Expressions gray and a Skakenmeier dark gray. And it's fine, but I can't wear that next to my skin, which is fine. It's something that I wear, like I've worn it all winter now. So I'm usually wearing it on top of other things. But if I were to put it now over this t-shirt, no go. Then I decided, when I realized I had this mohair aversion, I decided, well, let me play with other things. And I heard people talking about alpaca. And I know that Naughty Habits had this Suri alpaca. So when I went and saw her at the market, let me get you a full ball. Pardon the scrunchiness. It's not a very good looking ball, but it'll do. I caked these up myself. Oopsie. Sorry. Come on. I caked these up myself some time ago. This is the Naughty Habits label. This is her charcoal suri, and it comes in 300. It's a 50-gram ball, 300 meters of yarn, and it's 74% baby suri alpaca and 26% mulberry silk, hand dyed. It is very soft, and I feel like this is my fiber. So then I bought this and I said, I'm going to pair it with my gray. And I started to make the pearl sweater. Let me show you the pearl sweater. Look at those Look at those seeds. Look at all those seeds. I love the way, just to give you a sense when you pair things, like I love the way, it takes it down a notch in terms of darkening it. And it's really, this is now getting to be, this is a color, but it's nice for me because it's a bit lighter than I would normally wear. It's going to be nice and big and squishy. It's very soft. It's a pleasure to knit. The pattern is wonderfully written. Look at this detail. I don't know, why does this make me so happy? Look at that. Look at that. I think it's called the European shoulder. I might be wrong, but I think they call that the European shoulder. So you start at the back, you cast on, you start at the back, you knit your kind of your rectangular shape, and then you put these stitches on hold. So that's what I've just done, and then you pick up and knit your first shoulder, and then eventually I'm going to put these on hold and knit my next shoulder. Then you're going to join, knit the body, pick up for sleeves, blah blah blah. It's a drop shoulder, I presume, with the European shoulder. I don't know. I might be wrong there, but it's lovely. It's really lovely, and I'm enjoying it. And it's because I'm knitting it on 5mm needles, and because this is Aran weight, and pairing it with this, so it moves fast. It really moves fast, and it's a pleasure to knit. And so those are the two things that are on the needles. Now that this is dry, this has now dried. Oh, by the way, I wanted to say to you, like, I'm not a big yarn bag person. Like, I don't want to spend money on. I don't want to spend money on project bags. I just think I got enough bags in the house, and I just use these kinds of bags for my projects. This is a beautiful bag I got from this excellent yarn store called Natural Yarns. It's a store in Simonstown, just outside Cape Town in the Western Cape, and I visited it earlier this year when I went there for a really excellent book festival. They were great. I used bags like this. This was a festival I went to in Zurich, Literature Festival. And I use bags. So I have this big one for the pearl sweater, just because there's so much yarn involved. So I needed a slightly bigger bag. This is quite pretty. This was another gift from my friend Mandy. She seems to give me a lot of bags. I'm not complaining. And, they're not zipped and so on, because I know, normally the project bag is zipped, but it really works for me. That said, I really admire, businesses, small businesses, individuals that start businesses that make these beautiful bags. And I do appreciate people who support those businesses and buy those bags. I'm not discouraging the buying of project bags, but for me at the moment, and based on my own pocket and so on, these work perfectly. If I wasn't using them for my projects, they'd kind of just be hanging about. So I love that I have something to put my projects in. I've talked about kind of what I was wearing, but also what's fresh off the needles. I've talked about what's on the needles at the moment. And I have to kind of decide, maybe I'm sort of enjoying this a bit more than I was enjoying. This I just want to get finished now. But I might go back to this and I'm so close to finishing. But this whole thing of how to do the finishing is but these are the two. And hopefully, in the next time I record, at least one of them is finished and I can share. Particularly the red one, I'll show you what I decided in the end. The last thing I want to talk about is, when these are done, what I'm likely to do next. Let's start with talking about this. So this is one, I said disc the other day, but I meant to say plate. They call it plates. This is one plate of Plotolopi yarn. It's by a company called Istex, and it's Icelandic wool. And there's an incredible story about Icelandic wool, just in general. I invite you to plunge down that rabbit hole and learn more about it. It's unspun wool. It's a 100-gram plate, and there are 300 meters here. I got it in this, when I asked my brother to bring it down with him when he came. I wasn't sure how I would feel about it. It's known for being very rustic. It is, it's really quite rugged wool. as you can imagine, because it gets pretty cold. So you need some serious hair to keep you warm in that weather. But let's see. I had thought the same thing about the manchelopis that I also got one plate of. I keep wanting to say disc because it just feels like that's one plate, and I use that as my neck scarf. So, but anyway, I got it in this color because my partner is a greenie, and so I thought that I could get to learn the yarn. I could make something for him because he's not very sensitive, and learn the yarn at the same time. And then if I liked it, I could always try and get more. It's fairly affordable, this yarn. It's really, really affordable, even with exchange rates. So here I have this, what to do with this, because it's just one plate. He doesn't need a scarf. He's got plenty beanies that I've made him, or at least he has 2. I wondered if I could make, because his slippers, his winter slippers are falling apart that I'd made for him in the past. Maybe I could make some slippers for him out of this, and it might felt, because this is known for felting. It's known for being super hardy, but it in a good way, it can felt. It over time, it felts. And I wonder if that might be good for the slippers, like to felt it. And I wonder if it's hardy enough for slippers, or I could even reinforce it with some mohair. I have some green mohair I could use. So I think I'm going to do that. I have to find the right pattern. I could just use the same one that I use often. I'll just put a little picture of it here. I think it's called Simple Garter Slipper or something like that. I could just use the same one and make that and see how we go. I sometimes worry that slipper's a bit low, and so the one's ankles are cold. So maybe there's a sockish, slipperish pattern I could use that covers a bit more of the ankle. So I'll have it worked out, when the time comes. But I think that's something I'm going to work on. And then while we're on the theme of socks and feet, I think I could, pardon the crinkles, I think I could make a bunch of socks. I bought this some time ago. I'll put the name if I remember. I can't remember off the top of my head now. It's just an old, it's a cute little color. My kids probably aren't going to, they're very picky about their colors. So they might not be interested, but I could knit some socks for myself out of these. Or for a friend. I could knit maybe for a friend. I don't, like, some people don't wear knitted socks though. That's the thing. Like, I'm happy to make things, but it's like, are you going to wear what I make you? Or are you going to just put it in the cupboard somewhere? In which case I could have, made it for myself. But I think I'll stay on the sock theme. So go do that. And then the boys do need new socks. So let me show you some beautiful yarns. So these yarns are Naughty Habits. They're sock bases. So it's got some nylon in it. My son picked this. Not the one that likes pink. So I think I don't know, but this is just exquisite. We got enough initially. So I've made him socks with this already. And I made myself a pair that I love. And I still have quite a bit left. I need to work out, if I have enough to make him another pair. It might not be as long as he likes. Or to make, for the length, I could pair it with this for the length. He might, if I just did this by itself, he might not be that chuffed. But if I found a way to mix them cleverly, he'd probably like that. So I could maybe get a sock out of that for a kid, a pair of socks. And then my other son, that day, because I took them with me to that market. And I've got, these things are like, I'm going to have to be unwinding but it's fine. But yeah, this is another look of this particular yarn. I don't know if you can see, and it's showing up properly. It's beautiful pinks and purples, and I love this. There's some variegation there, and look at that. I love that. And I've made him a pair of socks already out of this, but I think he could do with another pair. And this is a nice, to get a heel or to mix it up basically with this. So I would make him, so that would be socks for the family. I'll be making, and I do love socks. And I was thinking I think I will use the everyday everyday socks pattern, again by Tin Can Knits. I like simple socks. Why I particularly like the everyday and similar patterns, there are many that are similar, is because of the ribbing. And what I've understood is that really helps your fit. Like if you can do ribbing helps the fit. It will grow well with the kids. So I'm going to do the everyday. And those would be the two next patterns that I get myself busy with. And that's nice. Socks are fun because they're really small. You can take them everywhere, literally. And I've said before, like I just love, there's something when you're turning a heel. I'm going to put a picture up at that point where you're turning a heel and the whole thing is open. You feel like a surgeon with your needles, and I knit with DPNs. I do magic loop as well, but I knit with DPNs as well. And it's like you've opened the belly and you now have to stitch it back up again. And I don't know, there's something interesting and evocative, at least, about that. And I enjoy it very much. And I enjoy working with this very dainty yarn, this thin fingering yarn. There's something, it's like the audacity of such thin yarn. I think that's how I felt when I was making this, like the audacity of making these, these tiny, precious rows. Just the audacity of that, I don't know. It's appealing. I'll never forget, this is the total aside, but I have knit a ranunculus before, and I'll talk about it some other time. But when I was thinking of knitting another ranunculus, and I was wondering if I could knit it out of single mohair, I was looking around, looking at other knitters that may have made the ranunculus out of single mohair and had talked about it and done little videos. And there was one woman, I think she had a blog, and she said, if you hate yourself a little bit, you should do it. Something like that. And I laughed out loud because I just thought that's hilarious. And I understood exactly what she meant. And it feels a bit like that. It's just like the insanity of working with this precious single fingering yarn, it doesn't have to be single, but fingering weight yarn. It's kind of nice to feel audacious in that way. So here's what's on the pinboard and what's of interest. On the topic of knitted socks, I was watching a podcast that I'm marginally obsessed with called Fashion Neuroses. It's this podcast where Bella Freud interviews different fashionistas and, artists and trailblazers. And I mean, I'm not a fashionable person by any means. I kind of buy 5 garments and I think, okay, that'll do me for the next 3 years. And I just use them on repeat till they fall apart at the seams. That's kind of how I go. And yet I'm fascinated by this show about fashion. And on a recent episode, she asks the guest, what are you wearing? And he's got these, I think they're Pointelle socks, like these socks with some lace in it. And they're knitted. And of course I hear hand knitted and my ears prick up. So I'm like, ooh, and they're Valentino socks. So of course I go and look and they cost some ridiculous amount of money. But even with my partner, then I got into this conversation and he was asking, wow, who do you think knits these socks? And like, are they sitting in some warehouse down in the dungeons knitting these socks all day for Valentino? It just got me thinking about, value. And I think it's interesting that, in a day when you can obviously have, he could have Valentino machine knitted socks. Why does he have Valentino handmade socks? And what does it mean? And what's the value of that? And what's the value of it without the label Valentino? And then what's the value of it with the label Valentino? And well, what does the Valentino really promise? Or is the promise in the work of a pair of hands? It's just fascinating. I wonder if you have any thoughts about it, or just to play devil's advocate and throw that out there. Thank you for stopping with me here and spending some time. Maybe you were making something as I was talking. Maybe you were sipping on something. Maybe you were, I don't know, pottering around in the background as you listened. But whatever you were doing, thank you so much. I'll say bye for now. I'll say take care and happy making.